today is going to be around personalization because building a website is easy. Managing content is becoming easier. I mean, this technology has made it so easy to do a lot of things that we kind of forget about one important problem: how to engage with customers. So for many teams, unfortunately, personalization kind of becomes an afterthought. And there are a couple of things: no strategic intent, no tactical roadmap to implement personalization, and lastly, finally, but not no way to measure it. So it's something that is uh, we want to do, but we don't know where to start. So the goal of this webinar is actually to flip this and to give you actionable steps in the end of the webinar. So stay with us on what you can do to actually start using personalization into your web projects. If you've been building a website recently, this is how it begins. It begins even for our team, and we're building like pages on a weekly basis, new pages, and we're kind of working on projects. Unfortunately, in the majority of cases, we kind of bake the personalization out. Isn't the right way to say it? No, we forget about the personalization. We kind of build a prototype, we start building the design, we worry about content, and we kind of leave the personalization out. So we end up with a experience in a website that just tells the same story to everyone. And this is unfortunately incorporated in day one. And this will have a long-term impact on your performance, potentially hurting some KPIs, and you will not be getting your website to work as hard as it could. So is there a workaround? Is there another way to do it? Yes, there is. And Amazon actually have found a way. They will get you the same generic website homepage, and yet it's contextually built, it's contextually optimized. And if you've been browsing Amazon, for example, with a clean browser, you may have seen that it is different. It's somehow the same, but not quite. What they want you to do is not necessarily buy something right away, and we'll talk about the importance of returning visits. What they want you to do is to get acquainted with the interface, with what they stand for, with certain categories, with options to explore the website in detail, so you can basically achieve one of the main goals for this first visit. What is to log in, to register, to maybe just click on a category, so you build a preference. And it works for them because they know that the true value of what they're offering as a company is actually the returning visitors and the amount of money you spend with them and the Prime subscription and whatever comes with it. So it's the same URL, it's the same brand, but kind of different experience based on geo, based on device name, time of the day. There's probably so many different criteria baked into their generic page. Is there anything that prevents you from doing it? I don't know. It's up to you to decide. But return visit is where loyalty is built, and this is the key takeaway from this personalization webinar. Because what you want to do is really to follow this simple, I would say, framework. You make your customers happy. They buy. They're happy. The transaction is complete. Everything is good. Their trust has been established. They will come back again. You show them that you know them, you show them that you care for them, you don't force them to restart the journey from step one, you already let them continue the journey where they left off the first time. And then you start reinforcing the good behavior. I bought something from Amazon, the experience was good, Amazon is a good place to shop. So this is exactly the power of personalization. It's not necessarily adding, hello Joe, or good morning, or good afternoon, or our shop is closed. It's about establishing the trigger, the routine, and basically the reward. It's just a habit. So personalization is a habit, and we'll be looking into quite a few things that can help you reinforce this behavior in a good way, obviously, to improve key KPIs, what you care for. But you need to be honest with yourself, and acknowledge the fact that your existing website may not be optimally configured, meaning that it falls into one of the two categories. If it's falling into the second one, where you look at your homepage as a gateway, where you enable your visitors to arrive, to self-select, to go deeper. You respond to signals, you personalize it, you treat your homepage as something like is something like a living thing, then you are in the right group. If you are using it as a as a way to broadcast how great your company is, well, it's not the optimal way, but it's not everything is lost, and we're going to look at it again. What are you telling your visitors? How great your brand is, or how you can help your visitors and customers, and take care about the second one. By the way, this is really important because, and I think that we covered it in the previous webinar when we spoke about GEO and SEO, the importance of understanding the audience and giving them answer first. It's the same thing, but it's about establishing trust, establishing emotional connection with the audience, so the loyalty is built and then preserved in the long run. So treat your experience not as a static homepage, but as an opportunity to build a picture. So what you want to start doing right now, today or Friday, tomorrow, it's a great day to do some experiences, to start tracking clicks. Where people are clicking, what signals they are showing you, what kind of profile they represent, what is the milestone they are trying to achieve, what is the persona they represent. And once you've combined all those different steps into a big picture, then over the next course of the following visits, what you want to do is really shorten the path to conversion, meaning that you will start surfacing them the right content at the right time, and you'll be giving them the tools or the credibility signals they are interested in. So it's not the same homepage that they see over and over again, but something that they can use to learn, to basically gain trust, gain confidence, and reach for this call us now, call me now, or request more information button that is your ultimate conversion point. I look at personalization as not as a way to boost conversions. I'm looking at this as something to establish trust in the long run, and definitely it pays off. So where do you begin? And I'm going to turn into Joe in a couple of seconds. Where do you begin? Normally, I would wake up on Monday morning and say, Joe, we should do personalization. And he would come back to me and say, hold on a second. Before we decide to personalize the homepage, let's see who's coming to the homepage, how frequently they are coming, what they're doing, where they are coming, going to, where they're coming from, so we can build a better picture and better journey. So we can decide what the messaging would be, what the CTA would be, what the supporting assets, what the credibility signals we are going to bake into experience. So it's not just about waking up on the Monday morning or Thursday afternoon after a webinar and just doing a personalization for the sake of personalization, but understanding who your customers are, who your visitors are, and spending some time with your team to design the perfect world and their perfect universe. And also, do not forget not to treat maybe, I don't know, Joe will keep me honest here, to treat desktop versus mobile business, because most websites nowadays are responsive, but are they optimized for the user who is holding the latest phone in their hand while they're on the move and they have short attention span? So, Joe, true or false? Mobile versus desktop isn't just a screen difference.
That's very true. Good example you used. The responsiveness doesn't mean the same journey for a mobile user. Example, the top fold totally changes on a mobile device as it would a desktop device. Users can't see large amounts of information. Like if you put an infographic or a large table on a mobile device, it is very hard to scroll. Users really can't zoom into an image if you're trying to explain something. It's a different journey from a mobile user to a desktop user. So we should look at them separately. True.
Yeah, but I designed this, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Do you like it?
Yep.
I mean, it has everything. It has a sign up for our newsletter, accept our cookies, get this offer, change the language, change the currency. Would this become a nightmare to optimize for a handheld device?
Yes, a lot of fields, a lot of things to look at, a lot of things. If you crunch them down, it will take up the entire screen without seeing the context around it.
Now you just touched on my next question. Which three roadblocks would you remove if you were to speak to, say, a UX or a designer or someone who is helping you build? your
I would
homepage, or redesign the homepage?
I would start with, you want to simplify content for mobile. Example, simplify the navigation, surface the CTA immediately, surface those action items. And you want to also cut down forms. So you don't want users to have to fill out complicated forms on the mobile devices. You just want to get that basic information on the mobile device that then they can return and, explore more later. Also, speed is an issue for mobile. You want to make sure that users are very much goldfish on mobile devices more than they are desktop. You got less time to grab their attention and grab their actions. You have less time on site. So you want to make sure that your intent is strong and forward on each page for mobile.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. In fact, we were in a meeting with one of our customers, and they said, you know what we're seeing in our Google Analytics is that our primary audience comes to the website, spends like 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and they just bounce back and they're gone. And probably they didn't look at their analytics to understand what was one of the technical side of things, whether they were like desktop users or mobiles. Here's a question, and we're going into a demo. How to improve it? This is a common thing. This is something that is an ongoing project for us internally at Progress. How to improve conversion rate for mobile users. Now that we know that we want to get rid of some elements, to remove distractions, to improve speed. I don't know. Pavel, can you show us?
Absolutely. And while I'm taking over the screen share, um, we're going to be taking a look at an example that will kind of change on the fly, right? So here, if you've been attending some other webinars, right, you've seen this website before. This is our fictional bank website that we use for a lot of our playgrounds internally. And I'm looking at this on a desktop device, right? So it looks fine. I have my hero banner. I have a list of products and services that I'm offering to customers. Then I have some things that I want to explicitly call out with quantum checking and our competitive and flexible terms and so on and so forth. Testimonials, the get in touch form, right? So I have a bunch of information. Now, that's great and all for a desktop device, but imagine what this will look like on a mobile device, right? Very quickly switching to mobile. And even now you can see, okay, yes, this looks great, right? Everything resizes correctly. All of the product lines fit and we can see them and we can read through them. But just take into account how much time I'm scrolling in order to get to the contact us form, right? So this is not ideal, obviously. We should only be thinking about, or we should not only be thinking about mobile first as in, is my content responsive? We should be also thinking of mobile first, does my content make sense on mobile as well? And if I just refresh this page quickly, we've already built out a personalized version of this page, but this time Chrome is going to pick up my device type because I'm simulating it. So now we can see this page is much more streamlined, right? We still get our hero banner, but we only have the things that we want to call out: quantum checking, flexible terms, no testimonials, no additional product lists, right? Get in touch with us. Give us your name and email address. We'll reach out and we'll figure out what you want. That's perfectly fine. You don't need to write essays about what you're looking for and why you're reaching out to us instead. So very simple in terms of, we're not actually doing any grand strategy. We're just removing stuff from the page, which is probably the easiest thing that we can do. But it still ends up in a better user experience because, again, we're not just focusing on the interface that we're delivering, we're also focusing on the experience that we're actually delivering to our visitors.
No, totally makes sense. I think that is also really important to, I would say, pick your battle. Device personalization based on device is just one way to go for personalization. If you're getting lots of traffic on mobile, certainly look into it. This particular slide will give you a sense of the relative value compared to the relative effort that you might be getting choosing the different strategies for personalization. I'm a huge fan of the visit number personalization, type of personalization, and there's a reason why. Because I don't necessarily need to deep dive into technical stuff, but I do not need to work on complex integrations with other systems. But it's an opportunity to really create the segments and approach personalization from the frequency of return visits. It works for me. Whether it works for you or not, maybe, I mean, you need to understand, you need to figure out for yourself, looking at Google Analytics to, if you're getting a lot of return visits, by all means, this would be something that you should explore. And again, why I chose this particular approach and is because it gives me the flexibility to surface important content, to tweak the messaging, to tweak the layout, to tweak the CTAs, and kind of work towards a conversion goal. Sometimes we'll say, you know what, we want to get people to just buy this product on the first visit, but it doesn't work unless you are talking about something that is associated with impulsive buy. When it comes to decisions, major life decisions such as car loans, home loans, we'll be covering those in a minute. It's something that you need to account for and to give it room to just grow. So here's a question though for Joe. Is one click enough for you to understand who Alex is and to start personalizing the journey? What do you think about it?
I do think one click is enough to understand, or one user action, even. We can just say one user action is enough to understand enough to improve the user's journey, even for new users. If you understand at least what they're looking at for the first 3 clicks,
Mhm.
you can understand and personalize that journey for them. It allows that intent. You can follow that intent to then allow personalization. So, yeah, one click, one action. If you have actions that you can put a user into a persona, then those are enough to start a personalization, to start, helping that user journey. I view personalization as helping that user journey. And yes, one click, one action on your website is enough to start that action 2, 3, and 4 to start a better journey for that user. So yes, I do think one click is enough to start a personalization for a user.
Yeah, that means that you don't need to go very complex on your personalization rules, and you can start small and then build from there. We're going to demo it in a second. True or false? But here's the question: the more you personalize, the better.
So I would say that's false. Uh,
Why?
because you can personalize too much and make an echo chamber. I mean, if you try to sort of push someone into one persona only, you sort of make an echo chamber for that user, and the user can miss out on other content, other CTAs or other actions that you have on pages. You also see diminishing returns if you try to make it over complicated, try to make too many personalizations where it's
Mhm.
20 web of personalizations. So yeah, I would start simple and really focus on how the personalization improves the user journey. And
Yeah.
so if you start missing out on like is this improving, then you're starting to personalize too much. So I would really say like keep the user in mind when you're making these personalizations, and how does it help the user along that journey. And I think there's where, yes, if you're just trying to personalize for the sake of personalizing, it can be too much.
Yeah, I agree with you, but also we need to take care of our marketing dollars. We need to take care of, the success of our campaigns. So we're going to jump into a demo where we'll be demonstrating a couple of important solutions to a couple of important problems. Getting the most out of your marketing dollars, meaning that how do you look personalization to work for you after a user has bounced off, or maybe they've closed the browser and they have returned to your website. And this is a common scenario because people like to explore, your websites and will come back from a time to time. How do you deliver the right message to the right persona? And this is also a common challenge, and there's an easy fix, and I know that Pavel is ready to demo it. And get in advanced. How does CRM data improve conversions and loyalty? And this is kind of level 9 personalization with a bit of data from external systems. Pavka, you ready? I know that you are.
Of course I am. And yeah, we're going to quick fire through a lot of demo scenarios. Of course, if you have questions, when you have questions, put them in the chat. We'll try to address them either on the spot after the webinar, or even through an answer in the chat as well. So again, the first thing that we want to start with is this idea of you know the one click being enough, and making sure that when someone comes back to our website, we already know something about them, and we want to personalize their experience as well here. So we're actually going to start with a concept that I'm sure is familiar to everyone, right? We'll be running a campaign on social media. We have a landing page link that we're going to use, and we're distributing that in this scenario across 2 different mediums, Facebook and LinkedIn. So this is our website right now, right? I'm in an incognito window. This is the first time I visited it. I get this very generic messaging, right? Quantum digital banking your way. But let's say we wanted to focus on car loans. It doesn't matter if it's corporate car loans, personal car loans. We just want to sell more car loans. So we're running our campaign. We'll see it here in the URL, right? We have a landing page, car loans 2026. Our UTM source is Facebook. Our campaign is summer car loans. So in this scenario, we're not going to personalize the landing page itself, right? It's not the core thing that we're focusing on, but it's something that we're running as a campaign. So we have our landing page, right? We have the two options: secure your fleet for corporate car loans, aiming for the car of your dreams if it's a personal car loan, and so on and so forth. But maybe we add a form here as well, right? If we want to get people to reach out right away as soon as they visit the landing page. But sometimes people are going to visit this landing page and they're going to close it. So this is an issue for us, right? Because we didn't get any meaningful conversions, we didn't get any meaningful actions, but they did show interest by clicking on that link. So what can we do? Well, we can personalize the home banner knowing that they came from Facebook and that they clicked on this landing page. And Facebook for us is associated with individuals. So we're talking about driving the future, we'll finance your EV, and we still have this call to action here for them. Now, again, going back to something that both Alex and Joe mentioned, we don't want to pigeonhole our visitors into this persona, right? We don't want to only keep offering them EV car loans for the rest of their journey with us. So this is actually something that we can control, right? When we're building out this personalization, we can only track if they visited the landing page in the last 7 days. So at most, this personalized campaign shows for them in a period of 7 days. And if they never click that landing page again, they never take any follow-up actions to confirm their interest in car loans, we revert back to the uh, basic quantum digital bank scenario. Now, again, just a very quick example of the same thing, but with a different audience, right? Here, we're going to work with the assumption that LinkedIn is corporate customers, right? So our UTM source is LinkedIn, and we're going to visit this landing page again. And this is all that we need, right? It's one click. We don't need to explore options. We don't need to aim for the car of our dreams. This scenario will already be something that we handle. And again, if we go back, same personalization, probably going to take a second for this to take effect. Same personalization, different source, different message, right? Now you're a corporate customer. Why don't you power your business with an EV transition? So now it's a fleet of cars that you can buy with the quantum digital bank services. And the final scenario here is something that will simulate a little bit more organic behavior. So not necessarily us running campaigns, but organic search, which a lot of the times today, right, this translates to a ChatGPT screen. So I've asked ChatGPT about the best banking services and where can I find them. And it was kind enough to recommend Quantum Digital Bank. It gave me a couple of links here as well. And because ChatGPT is also kind enough to append its source, right, ChatGPT, we now have more generic messaging again. We assume that people who are just doing um, research on banking services, they might not necessarily be looking for a car loan right away or for a corporate fleet replacement with electric vehicles, right? So we're sticking to something a little bit more relatable, right? What would a regular person doing research on ChatGPT be interested in? A loan, a credit card, a debit card, right? So we have a different type of message for these people as well. Now, this is all well and good, right? This is sort of the one-click scenario where, we know that people click the link, we know what they were interested in based off of that link, and we showcase them some information. Now, this ChatGPT example is also a great one because we don't know what I was researching beforehand, right? I might have been researching home loans, and I've asked it, hey, can you give me recommendations about the best home loans instead? So this isn't enough of a signal, but what we can do to evolve this customer journey is to keep tracking what people do after they've come to the website, after they've clicked this link. And in my case, right, I came here for a home loan. I don't care about credit cards. So I see, okay, we offer some home loans here. I'm going to navigate to this page. Um, I'll take a look at the different rates that are available. I'll read through some testimonials, interact with the FAQs if that's something that we want. And because I'm simulating a very targeted journey, I'm very, very interested in only home loans. I also go to my resources page and the downloadable documents section, and I see, okay, there's terms and conditions for home loans. Let me read through those and whether I actually qualify for a home loan. Now, this is a Sitefinity product brochure, nothing related to home loans, but I am doing very concentrated research on what would it take for me to get a home loan. Again, maybe my journey drops off. Maybe I come back later, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, but we want to be able to take this into account. And the next time I visit the page, right now we know that I'm not interested in credit cards. I'm interested in specifically in home loans. So now we have a new customized banner, new benefit statements, explore home loans call to action so that people can continue their journey where they left off. So one thing that we'll notice again is that this is one single journey that I've been on, right? I did some research on ChatGPT, I got some credit card recommendations, and then that journey evolved after I showed more concrete interest in a specific product and service. And there's also another way where this journey can evolve, right? So far, we don't know who I am. I'm just an anonymous user who's accepted cookies on the website, and we track behavior on the site. But what we can evolve this behavior or this personalization into is taking into account who the person is. What do we know about them as a customer of our bank, right? Maybe they already have a credit card with us or a debit card. Maybe we have additional information about them in general. So this is a very good example where we can combine this behavior data with also demographic or firmographic data that we've captured in, again, external systems of record that we have or through a form submission and so on. So this is where we'll move into Sitefinity Insight, our customer data platform. And here we've captured the profile of a potential customer, right? This is George Foreman. He's been interacting with us for over a year now. And we can actually see that George is currently on a home loan journey, right? He's matched a specific persona that we've defined. So he is a home loan prospect. He's currently in the application step of his home loan journey. So this is all information that we've tracked, and we actually track this information directly in the customer journey, right? This is every single interaction that George has made on his journey with us, right? He was looking for credit card. He canceled the credit card at some point. Then he really zoned in on, I really need a home loan, for example. And from here on out, he's getting emails and so on and so forth. But this is not everything that we know about George. We can also see the company that George is working for. We can also see that he is not a member of our bank loyalty program at the moment. And this is information that would live in a system, either a proprietary banking system, our CRM, or anywhere else that we would store customer data, right? So this is just one very simple example. I'm storing my data for George in Salesforce. And here we have the membership level. So what we've actually done, and we'll take a look at this very, very briefly, is we've built a very simple automation that whenever something happened to George's profile in Salesforce, we're going to reflect that into Sitefinity Insight, and then we can use that to continuously personalize the journey for George. And what this looks like in practice, we will update George's membership level, right? So instead of not a member, he is a gold member of our loyalty program. And we'll just very quickly check for a new update on the automation. Typically, it runs every 5 minutes rather than every time. And here, if we go back and we refresh George's profile, we're going to actually see two things change. So the first thing is George is now a gold membership level customer. And we can also see that reflected in our bank membership program level journey as well. So we have bronze, silver, multiple people in each category. George is exactly at the threshold of a gold customer. So now we can actually leverage this data back into our CMS, right? If we take a look at what the home loan journey looks like for us, we are targeting people who are home loan prospects. We are targeting people who are in the beginning of their home loan journey. So they are either aware of our home loan or they are considering a home loan. Well, now we can go in and we can add an extra property here to say, well, for gold members, we have these ultra special offers, right? Ultra special terms, and we can funnel them into the correct path for gold members, which will lead to easier conversions because the terms are much more preferential, for example. So all of this is something that we can take into account, and we can model not only what we show to the customer, but also putting them on a very specific path towards a very specific conversion that we're targeting as well. So yeah, I think that about covers what the customer journey can evolve into and how we can personalize the website to adapt that to that journey as well.
Yeah. Totally makes sense. Which brings me to the next question, and I have a question that Joe does not expect. Joe, how does, putting the user in the center of the journey of your website, of your messaging, kind of informs other decisions throughout the evolution of your website? I have a selection of, what I think it could influence. So maybe it's a topic for discussion when you're doing optimization or personalization or redesigning the homepage. But is there anything else that is missing here, or we can agree that everything from CTAs to messaging to visuals to how your page looks can be can revolve around who your persona, who your audience is, what they're looking for, where they're coming from, and where they're going?
Yes, all the above. I think it all comes down to the user first journey. So I'm a big user first journey. So a lot of that is like where the user enters your website from. That can start just from there. Not even a first click, first entry point can also show you what the user was searching like on organic search to land on that entry page to then start that journey for the user. So a lot of it, yeah, it's just understanding those entry points, understanding those touch points, understanding that user journey to the second and third page, to what those users are looking for when they're entering those pages. So a lot of it comes to your data and trying to look at just what that user persona is trying to do or what that user who's landing on that page is really after. Then you can help that user to those next couple steps, because what we find sometimes when a user is entering a website, they're after that third page. And sometimes we make those pages hidden, or we want the user to take this 1, 2, 3 step journey. And on mobile devices and different persona, you can sort of make that 3 step journey a 1 step journey from the entry page. So a lot of it just center your websites and center your personalizations around what can help the user's journey.
I agree with you. Personalization can get so addictive that at some point you end up with so many rules. Like, hey, let's optimize the homepage for the first time visitors. Let's optimize for our customers, for our partners, for someone who never bought any of other products, someone who downloaded attended this webinar, someone who downloaded paper. So at some point, while, for example, rule-based personalization is a great start and actually you can use to prove the value of personalization right away. AI-driven segmentations and AI-driven personalization, and I didn't want to throw in the AI word in this webinar, is something that can help you actually get all the benefits of very advanced personalization with nearly zero, and I mean zero efforts and ongoing maintenance. And I think that Pavel will agree because I know that he's ready for the next demo. But before we jump to the next demo, AI optimization or dynamically generated experiences is what we call them is the natural progression. You start with defining manual segments for a desired persona. You will go into AI-driven clusters to discover segments that you didn't have the time or the need, or maybe didn't know where to look for. So you can personalize and optimize the journey, and then you can just go hands-free. Let the system take care of our personalization efforts, and we're going to show those in a second. And again, we have a Joe. Well, the coincidence here, meet Joe. So in this particular case, Joe wants a car loan. Well, the demo will be slightly different, but you get the idea. Joe comes to the website. We know a lot about Joe, signals from intent signals, CDP signals, information from the CRM, journey details, so many things that we can use and will use in this particular demo, or at least some of the signals, to show you how you can dynamically assemble a truly personalized page that is built exclusively and only for Joe. And I think that will be kind of be able to demonstrate in like 5 minutes or less how you can flip a generic web page, something like this, that speaks to everyone but not to Joe, into something that is really designed with Joe in mind and his needs, and Joe will feel understood. So it's not magic, because we have the content, we have the signals, we have the right moment. We can build a personalized experience that is likely, well, I can almost guarantee that can increase conversions or build loyalty, or get Joe to move through the funnel slightly in a faster pace. So, Joe's car loan, can your website connect all the dots?
This is another version of the same website with very slight differences that we're going to see here. So again, if we go back here, right, we have the targeted messaging that we want to display. So we've gone through, we've defined what a home loan prospect is, we've defined which people fall into that segment, and we're targeting them specifically with home loan information. Now, the next level for that is we shouldn't be spending too much time defining those segments and curating the right content for them, right? In an AI-driven world, we should be able to provide at least some relevant information just by what we automatically discover about the customer. So uh, this is a functionality that we're actually going to see here, right? Where instead of having, again, the generic product list here with some random products that we've selected, instead of having our target messaging here, we're just asking the person, hey, what are you looking for today, right? And based on what they are looking for and what we know about the visitor, we're going to show them different content. And if I refresh the page, I'll probably get the same recommendations, and I'll explain why in a second. But you see that this content takes a little bit longer to load because we're actually dynamically generating these recommendations on the spot. And what we will see here is that I'm getting these personal wealth management recommendations, wealth management for high net worth individuals, personal savings accounts. But uh, the dynamically generated experience here understands that I am interested in personal banking services. Why am I interested in personal banking services? If you've been following along with the other demos, I only demonstrated clear intent about a home loan, which is personal banking. It's not corporate checking, it's not corporate loans or anything like that, right? It's personal banking services. So we take this intent into account. And when we first load the page, we already know something about the person. And we're saying, hey, these are some other banking services, right? Maybe you want to save up for a house. Maybe you don't want to take as big a loan. Hey, why not talk about wealth management services? So um, this is already something that we're taking into account. Now, of course, I can always throw this website a curveball. I'm actually looking for corporate services, right? And we're going to regenerate the same content, but with recommendations for corporate services. And again, in this scenario, hey, have you checked out our business page? Are you interested in a corporate credit line? Hey, why not talk to Kelly Anderson? She's our strategic advisor for corporate finance clients. So this experience is curated both by what we know about the visitor, but also by what they themselves are actually looking for. So even if we, uh, even if they are starting a brand new journey today, they can guide themselves through that journey, and they can always see relevant information at every step along the way here. And I just want to talk a little bit about how this works in the background, because I do mention that we are tracking the overall user intent and we are putting them into a specific category. For example, again, personal banking prospects. This is done through something called segment discovery, where with enough data, Sitefinity Insight will be able to analyze customer journeys and group them together into different segments. For example, personal banking enthusiasts who are primarily drawn to personal banking services such as checkings and savings accounts, which we saw as a recommendation. So we use this information alongside anything else that the visitor is looking for to combine the perfect recommendation for them into, again, a much more streamlined journey where the visitor feels understood and they can find the information that they're looking for right away, rather than having to go through our landing pages, go through our mega menus, and so on and so forth.
There's another benefit of using this approach for personalization, personalizing your homepage or whatever page you decide to improve the performance of. And I've been just thinking about it because it gives you visibility in what people are actually looking for. And one of the concerns that many of our customers or early adopters of this capability have had is like, how do I know that the experience generated is the one, that puts me in best possible light. And yeah, you have access to the backend, but this also gives you the opportunity to start creating content or journeys or experiences that kind of resonate with the needs of the customers, and is just like amazing source of inspiration. Because once you start digging into this type of content and real world questions, it becomes so much easier to start creating content from a marketing perspective. And I know that I'm using it quite often to create FAQs or any other resources, because when you created those resources and when you publish them, they go into LLMs. So you are kind of improving your chances there of showing up there on LLMs and SEO and improving your SEO. Long story short, if you haven't tried it, let us know. We'll be more than happy to give you an in-depth demo of this one. I'm going to grab the screen once again for a second, and we have another demo coming in a couple of seconds, in a couple of minutes. But I just want to briefly talk about what is really important. Whatever you do with personalization, optimize the journey, optimize how people are getting to your core promise. Do not dilute the brand. Do not create a journey that puts Quantum Bank as a mortgage lender or car loan company. Whatever you do, acknowledge that the different personas, different users will have different needs. They'll go through different paths, but never ever fragment the brand and do not dilute your brand, because your corporate communications will not be happy with this one if you dilute the messaging. Yes, which brings me to the question for Joe. I know the answer, but I need his expertise here. Is there a line personalization should never cross?
Yes, of course. And it's one of the questions that was asked in the chat is how transparent should companies be about personalization? And I think you can cross the line into creepy personalization by using too much PII, personally identifiable information. Some companies have very personal information stored, exact income, home address, birthday. An example is, we could say claim your free birthday gift. And the personalization, it could be a free ice cream or free XYZ, but most users don't want to see, we see your birthday's on June 1st, claim your birthday gift. I mean, that's a little bit too personal to the user. And what benefit to the user to show that exact information we have? You want to be transparent, but you want to show why the content's being personalized. I mean, there's a point where, yes, we have information on the user, but we're not trying to tell the user its birthday is on June 1st. We're just trying to ask the user if they would like to claim a free birthday gift.
Yeah,
But
totally
showing
makes
the
sense.
exact information is a little bit creepy.
By the way, Pavel showed in one of the screens that we have a lot of information in the CDP and the CRM that you can potentially use to personalize the experience. But again, you shouldn't cross the line. And here's an example, by the way. This is a well-known story from back in the day, even before CDPs and personalized websites. I don't know where you heard about it, but Target was so good at understanding their audience or their customer base that they crossed the line, and not in a good way. So when we talk about personalization, and to allude to what Joe said, be helpful, make your audience feel understood, help them get what they need, and just don't go, with the idea that you know everything about them, so why not show them they are being tracked? This will scare folks away. And at some point, this is an important one. Boring slide, but this is a conversation that you have, because at some point you need to go to your management and say, hey, let's do personalization. We need a bit of budgeting. So calculating the ROI, is it worth it? Yes, it is worth it. And I'll tell you why. Because personalization and A/B testing, and you should test everything. We have a slide about is something that if it moves the needle with just a bit, you can easily kind of extrapolate and see what you're getting in the long run. So if a personalization can improve the conversion rate from 2% to 2.7%, knowing the number of visitors, knowing the average deal size can easily get you, I mean, a rough estimation obviously may work, your management may vary, but it will give you what is the expected uplift. And it's an easy calculator. In fact, we'll try to publish a calculator on our website. You'll get it with the recording link so you can play with it. But have in mind, if you do personalization, use it to improve the journey, use it to improve conversions, use it to improve stickiness, and you'll be seeing some good numbers in your inboxes. Of course, there will be different levels, and you need to figure out which one works for you, basically. Again, your mileage may vary, but you need to establish a cadence for implementing certain types of personalization, as well as how to measure it. And speaking about measuring, is something that we forget to do from time to time. Do A/B tests, A/B test our personalization efforts. And I'm a huge fan of A/B testing, is because, and it's, by the way, it's built into Sitefinity. If you're not using it, you need to start using it. But one of the benefits is that it provides you an easy way out. If things don't work, you can easily revert or ignore the variation, and you can stick with what works for you. Continue to improve, and test. Because otherwise, you might end up in a situation where you approve, where you implement actually what you think it's an improvement, and then you end up with results that do not necessarily match your desired outcome. So, where should you start? And I think that Joe spoke about it. He's holding a personalized mug, and probably his coffee is being personalized at the moment. I know it for sure. But where do you begin? Start with one segment, one persona, one CTA, one hero image, one anything, and then prove the ROI or prove the lift in 2 weeks. See if it's getting you where you want to go, and then think about expanding into a full program. I've seen cases and where people, go into a scope creep mode where they add and add and add and add, and you end up with something that costs you a lot of money, doesn't work. So start
Yep.
small, go from there.
Uh, Also, I think it's important to talk about like not everything's going to be a winner. Failure is also the best teacher. So you just because you fell on a personalization, you learn something about the user at that point. So start somewhere, even if that first one's a failure, you learn something and then try it again. Try, do what learn from that first lesson and then apply it to the second.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
everything's personalized. Not everything's perfect every time, but you want to work towards better.
yeah, I agree with you. Actually, this is a good introduction to this slide because you may want to start playing with the CMS, and then you may want to incorporate your email platform into this. And then at some point, when you are confident and comfortable using customer data, bring in your CDP, bring in your CRM, but start small and track what works for you. Because what Joe said, not everything is going to work, and I think that kind of we know it. I mean, I've seen it myself based on. All right, so here's a tricky one. One of my favorite demos, by the way, because I know it works on me. So what happens when your users visited? They left. You know something about them. What do you do? Pavka, the last demo for the day.
This one is also uh, quite interesting for me as well because again, as you mentioned, I fell fallen victim to the same thing as well.
Yeah.
So this is a scenario where we have a service cancellation request form. Someone comes onto this page, they're willing to cancel their credit card. They're willing to move away to another bank. This is a very strong signal that something's going wrong with that specific person. Now, for some reason, we get lucky. They don't submit the cancellation request right away. They're not sure yet. They're thinking about it, but this is already a signal that we know about, and we can actually do something about it. So what we can very easily do is we can take this one single signal and model this into for example, persona in Sitefinity Insight, right? Potential churn. Okay, people are demonstrating different types of signals that they want to leave our business for one reason or another. Well, we can actually track all of these people and these signals, and we can start taking actions through an automated flow that we can build. So here again, you know, an automation that we can build is whenever someone matches that potential churn persona, whether it's again multiple signals, one signal, we can make this as simple or as complex as we want it to be. Whenever they match this type of persona, we can send them an email, right? Maybe we don't do it in sort of the creepy way. Hey, you clicked on this page, and 1 minute later we're asking you not to go, and we know exactly which step you're taking when on our website, right? We don't want to advertise this as such. Maybe we send it uh, a day later, right? So what we can do is we can keep track of the signal, schedule something for a day later, and then using our preferred email campaign system, reach out to the person. There was a question earlier when we talked about systems of record and the data that we can pull in. The question was, what if we don't have Salesforce? We can build these automations with any system out there, as long as they have some connectivity exposed, whether it's APIs, whether it's some connectors. We can build these automations. In this scenario, I'm just using Brevo. It can be a Mailchimp, it can be your preferred um, email campaign system. That is perfectly fine. We can send these signals wherever we want them to go and to take action with. So here, I've been playing around with this exact scenario. You actually see me 3 times in addition to some other contacts. And because I've demonstrated a strong signal for churning, we're going to send an email a day later. Now, obviously, for today, we don't really have time to wait for a day to see that email arriving. So I did take the liberty of sending myself these emails earlier, testing this automation out. So this is something that we can curate and send out to these individuals. Before you go, we'd love one more chance to get this right. And then we start with, a message that we noticed you visit our account closure page yesterday. Here is an exclusive retention offer that's going to be valid for the next 7 days. Do you want to claim it? Here are some other services, right? So we're flipping a disadvantage that we have, right? The person is thinking of going away into, hey, we're going to try to retain you, but we're also going to try to expand, right? Maybe there are these other awesome services that we offer that you never made use of. Have you considered this, right? So we immediately take action to make sure that we don't lose this customer. And again, we don't have to keep track of every single cancellation request that comes in our inbox ourselves. We can do this at the very first point of, um, again, a person demonstrating that they're considering to churn.
Yeah, it works for me. I mean, I know that I've clicked on so many emails. It works for me. So there's got to be a reason. It works for everyone. So maybe something for you to consider to automate this kind of communication when someone gets to a stage or to a stage where you want to automate some communication. We are kind of in a minute. We'll be running out of time. Jens, did we get any interesting questions? I might have seen a question assigned to me, but I'm not doing a great job at following the questions, and I apologize for that. I'll try to follow up with a blog post or individually. Did we get any questions in the chat that we'd like to kind of answer before we?
Yeah, I was wanting to expand upon one of the questions earlier. Sitefinity's one of the strong points of Sitefinity. It can connect to many different data sources, not just Salesforce, but like you were saying, you can make these flows out of any information that you have stored in many different systems. So the more you understand and integrate that, the better your outcomes will become.
Agreed, agreed. But where do our attendees start? And I'll say that if I were just beginning my personalization journey, I would start with defining the goals. What are we trying to improve? Because otherwise, connecting the CRM for the sake of connecting the CRM is not something that can have a benefit in the long run. Well, until you're ready to use it. So, if based on where you are, because we saw that there are people in the audience who are just starting. Some of you have already done personalization. Pick one, work on it, ship it, and yeah, tell us how you got there. And if you need help, obviously we're available to help. We can follow up with personal one-on-one workshops on follow up or with your questions. Just let us know. Thank you, and we appreciate you being here today. Let's answer this question though before we say, bye and before you log off for your next meeting. Is your website working as hard as it could? Well, yes, if you are not using it to broadcast the same message to everyone. So do a bit of personalization and you should be able to see results.